When it comes to Destiny 2, crowd control is an important thing to keep in mind. The quicker you can eliminate or disable enemies, the better off you'll be. With today's build, you'll be able to keep your enemies in check, so you could focus on the important things, like what are you gonna eat for dinner tonight?
What's for dinner?
Dinner?
Seriously though, with this Strand Titan build, you'll be able to keep your enemies suspended for large amounts of time, letting you and your team dictate how you want to approach the fight. Remember, if you like this video, slap that like button and subscribe to see more broken builds like this one. Let's go. First off, let's look at our super and our abilities. For our super, we're going to be taking Blade Fury. This is the only super that we have right now, but it is potent. Not only is it good at doing a large amount of damage to a solo target such as a boss or a champion, it's also great at ad clearing. So we're going to be trying to use our super as much as we can. Moving on to our first ability, we're going to be choosing to take Rally Barricade. Not only does it have a shorter cooldown, making it easier to get back quicker, but also when we are suspending targets, as they raise up a little bit, it's going to make it a little bit easier to shoot over our barricade and kill the enemies that are suspended. For our jump, we're going to be choosing Strafe Lift. It's a better jump.
Fight me.
For our melee ability, we're going to be choosing to take Frenzy Blade. This is our only option as of now, but it does hit pretty powerful, and we are going to have 3 charges of it. For our grenade, we're going to be choosing to take the Shackle Grenade. This is going to offer us a little bit more ad control, and it pairs with our Fragment and our Exotic. Moving on to the aspects. For the first aspect, we're going to be choosing to take Into the Fray. This is going to give allies Woven Mail when we're casting our super or destroying a tangle near them. It's also going to give us a higher melee recharge rate when Woven Mail is active, which is going to be a lot. I am considering Flechette Storm as a replacement when the new season rolls around, so be on the lookout for that. For our second aspect, we're going to be taking Dranger's Lash. This is going to make it so our class ability creates a ripple that suspends targets. This is going to pair perfectly with our exotic of choice. Moving on to the fragments, the first fragment we're going to be choosing is going to be Thread of Mind. This makes it so that when we defeat suspended targets, we're granted class ability energy. Since we are going to be suspending a ton of targets, we are going to be getting our class ability back quicker and quicker because of this. This makes it so that when you defeat about 3 targets, you'll fully get your class ability back. Our second fragment is going to be the Thread of Continuity. This makes it so suspend, unravel, and sever effects are going to have a longer duration. Not only is this going to give us plus 10 to our strength, but it's also going to give us more control over the battlefield in total, keeping our suspended targets up for longer. Our next fragment is going to be the Thread of Warding. This makes it so that orbs grant Woven Mail. This is slightly redundant, though Woven Mail is too powerful to not have a 100% uptime on it. For our fourth and final fragment, I'm going to be choosing to take Thread of Propagation. This makes it so that powered melee final blows grant unraveling rounds to strand weapons. If you're not using strand weapons, feel free to use Thread of Wisdom or Thread of Generation. I like to pair this with strand weapons, and it's just going to increase the damage that we're outputting with strand weapons. Let's take a look at the exotic of choice for this build. We're going to be choosing to take the Abeyant Leap. When we pair this with Dranger's Lash, our aspect, we're making it so that our class ability will spawn 3 total suspending seekers. And when we suspend targets, we're granted Woven Mail. This exotic feels so good to use. Watching all the enemies in front of you just get thrown up into the air after using your barricade never gets old. Now that we've established the full build and the exotic, let's take a look at ways to improve the build. Starting with our mods. For our helmet mods, the first mod I'm going to be choosing is Harmonic Siphon. Since I am trying to use strand weapons, this makes it so that our strand weapons are going to create orbs of power for us. Orbs are not only going to help feed our ability energy, but also give us more super energy back and give us Woven Mail in the process. The next mod I'm going to be choosing is going to be Dynamo. This reduces super cooldown when using your class ability near targets. This is great if you have low intellect, and I don't have a lot of armor that has high intellect. Since we are trying to pop our class ability as much as we can with this build, this is going to increase the amount of super you're getting, which makes it so that you can use your super more often. And with the strand super, this is amazing. Let's take a look at our gauntlet mods. First up, I'm going to choose Heavy Handed. This makes it so that powered melee blows create orbs. Since we do get 3 powered melees, it is pretty easy to get an orb. Sometimes 1 powered melee won't kill an enemy, so you might need to use 1 or 2. Worst case scenario, start to damage an enemy and then use your melee. Since we are trying to also use our powered melee to buff our strand weapons and give them unraveling rounds, this pairs very well with that fragment. Next up, we have Momentum Transfer. We're also going to be taking Impact Induction. This means whenever we use our melee energy, we're going to get grenade energy, and whenever we get grenade energy, we're going to give melee energy. This is going to help us cycle between the 2 endlessly. For our chest mods, I like to take 3 different resistance mods, or I like to take 2 resistance mods and 1 reserves mod, depending on what kind of weapons I'm using. This is going to give us an overall boost to damage reduction. This plus Woven Mail makes us nearly indestructible.
Nope, I'm indestructible.
For our leg mods, first up, we're going to be taking Invigoration. This makes it so that orbs reduce our melee cooldown. Since we are a melee-based build, this is going to help us get our melee back even quicker, and since we can hold 3, we almost always are going to need more melee energy. Next up, I'm going to be taking Recuperation. This makes it so that whenever we pick up an orb, not only are we getting Woven Mail, which will decrease the amount of damage we're taking, but it's also going to give us a little bit of health back. This helps with survivability overall. For our third and final mod for our legs, we're going to be choosing to take Absolution. This makes it so that orbs reduce the cooldown of all of our abilities. This is a great overall mod, and since we are wanting to use our abilities as much as possible, this is going to help out. Moving on to our mark, the first mod I'm going to take is Outreach. This makes it so that whenever we use our class ability, we're going to be given melee energy, and since we can have 3 melee charges, this is nearly always going to be useful. Next up, I'm going to be choosing to take Reaper. This makes it so that each time we use our Rally Barricade, our next weapon kill is going to spawn an Orb of Power. Again, orbs keep us healthy and give us Woven Mail, so we do want to create as many orbs as possible, and we are going to be using our Rally Barricade a ton. Last up, we're going to be taking Utility Kickstart. This makes it so that whenever we use our class ability, we're immediately given energy back based on the amount of armor charge we have. And since this is the only thing that's going to be using armor charge, we should be able to get a decent amount of class ability energy back whenever we use it. Normally I include artifact mods, but since we are at the end of season 20, I'm choosing not to since we don't know what the new artifact mods are going to be in season 21. Let's take a look at what weapons I think pair well with this build. For our first slot, I like to take a Strand Primary. This could be an auto rifle, SMG, scout, whatever works. My number one choice for this build is going to be the Quicksilver Storm. Not only is this a very powerful weapon on its own, but whenever we do get a powered melee kill, we're granting unraveling rounds to it, making it that much stronger. Another weapon that has great synergy with this build is going to be the Taraxipos. This is the scout rifle from the Guardian games, and whenever we get a kill with it, it's going to give us back more class ability, meaning we can continue our cycle even better. Another great option would be Rufus's Fury. This is from the Root of Nightmares. It is craftable and it has some great perks on it. Any other strand weapon would also be very good with this build. If you are choosing to swap out that last fragment, the Monte Carlo is also a great option. Since it does give back melee energy, I'm thinking that the Monte Carlo paired with the new aspect coming in season 21 is going to be a dominant duo. For our second slot, I like to choose a heavy hitting special. This could be a shotgun, fusion, sniper, whatever works for the activity you're in. A few on my list are going to be No Composure. Since in season 20 it does pair well with the Void artifact mods, it is an overall good fusion. Another option is going to be a wave frame. You could take something like the Harsh Language, again pairing with the season 20 artifact mods. This can roll with Repulsor Brace, giving you that much more survivability. Any wave frame would be great though. For our heavy slot, the Circular Logic is great for ad clearing and as a strand machine gun, meaning that we will be granting it unraveling rounds whenever we get a powered melee kill. This does limit the amount of boss DPS you can do, though it is great for ad clearing. Otherwise, use whatever best weapon you want for the activity that you're doing. This build is easy to use and very potent. The best gameplay loop will be to pop your barricades, spending many targets in front of you, then use a powered melee to kill at least one target, and use your strand weapons to unleash hell. Getting enough kills will provide yourself with more class ability energy to continue the cycle. If you happen to not get enough kills, which it's hard not to,
it's too easy.
you have your grenade that will suspend targets, and killing them while suspended will give you more class ability energy back. As you can see, we're trying to cycle back to our class ability as much as possible to continuously spam suspend on all the targets in front of us. This gives us great control over all of the battlefield. This build gives you the capability to control your engagements. Not only does it allow you to mass suspend targets, we're also able to power up our weapons, give ourselves more ability and super energy, and we have a ton of damage resistance with an always constant Woven Mail. Let me know your thoughts of the build. What would you change or how would you improve it? That's it for me. Peace out.